What is going on, y'all? Robert Sykes, KetoSavage.com, and today I've got special guest, good friend, and client, Greg, in the building. We are actually recording this at an Airbnb in Boston, Massachusetts. We just wrapped up my pro debut show at the Monster Mash competition, and we're going to dive into that. We're also going to talk about reverse dieting and the significance of that. We're going to talk about some things that we've got in the pipeline that are super exciting. As I was recording this, I realized how tired and hopefully not drab I may have sounded. I'm just exhausted, y'all. I mean, we've been going nonstop. We had the show today, and I'm worn out and ready to go to sleep. But hopefully y'all got something great out of it. So without further delay, sit back, relax, and enjoy the podcast conversation with my good friend, Greg. We are live. How you doing, Greg?
I'm doing well.
Good. We got a little podcast action going on post-show. We've actually filmed quite a bit of content, so it feels like we're just on a roll right now. We did a talking head of you, Crystal, Chip, myself, a screen capture that went over my macros, and now we're doing a podcast because I'm short on podcast, and I'm traveling, and I need a podcast for next Friday. So I wrangled you in, and here we are.
And we got all the gear right here.
And we have all the gear right here. And I lugged all this gear all over the airport, so I felt like I had to record a podcast.
That's true.
You know, it wouldn't have been right to not use it after lugging it everywhere. So, for the sake of being repetitive and a little redundant for the content we've already talked about, but who may not be hearing it if they're just listening to the podcast, let's do a little recap on the show. Give me some of your thoughts. And then we'll just kind of go into a friendly banter about whatever else we want to talk about.
Let's go.
So today was the Monster Mash competition. I stepped on stage and competed at about 10:30. It is now 7:54. And this was my pro debut show. How'd you think about it all, man?
I gotta say, first off, congratulations.
Thank you.
You looked absolutely stellar.
Appreciate it.
You were definitely the leanest man, if not the leanest man alive, the leanest man on the stage.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Conditioning was dialed in, vascularity.
It is kind of hard to tell those older competitors, though, man. Like, they got that super thin skin. So they got the vascularity, but like when you look at them past the thinness of the skin, I feel like I had more definition for sure.
Yeah, totally agree. Yep. Striations in areas where nobody else really had them. So you had the conditioning dialed in. I think they were kind of on the hunt for guys of size and just overall bulk, which is somewhat unfortunate because, in my opinion, they may not have been as well balanced from head to toe.
Yeah.
But you had the balance. You had the symmetry, the balance, the upper body, lower body. It all kind of meshed very well.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I was the most conditioned guy on stage. I feel like I was more conditioned than I was at any point up to this date. I mean, I competed at 154, which is 1.5 pounds lighter than what I was at the Washington show that I went pro at 3 weeks ago. You and I trained at the gym the day prior, and I mean, I was seeing veins I had never seen before.
That was crazy. Yeah. Your vascularity at the gym would have been what, Saturday morning?
Yeah, Saturday morning. But then when I woke up yesterday morning and this morning, it was just like, yeah, I've never seen that vein before. So I feel confident that I am leaner than I've ever been, for sure. I'm definitely leaner than I've ever been. I can confidently say that. I feel like I looked better, conditionally speaking, than I did at the prior show. I do think my color at this show screwed with me a little bit because I think I was too dark.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Did you say they put 3 total coats of spray on you, 2 the night before, 1 the day of?
Yeah, they were originally going to put 1 coat on the night before, 1 coat on the morning of, but they wound up doing 2 coats the night before and then an additional coat this morning. And I think I was too dark for the way the stage lights were set up because it was like a temporary stage with temporary lights they brought in. And I had this happen in 2017 where I got so dark using a different tanning product that it just washed out some of my definition, which is frustrating because I don't get to see myself on stage. I just get to look at the professional photos after the fact. So it may look like I brought a better package at the Washington show than I did to this show, but just looking at myself objectively in the mirror and, like, you know, when I wake up and see myself, I feel like I was actually better conditioned for this show.
Yeah, totally agree.
So,
And then what if you compare your weight that you hit the stage today against your last prep? So like the last time you prepped, your body weight.
yeah.
You were this morning? You were what, 154?
154 this morning. The last time I prepped, it was in 2020.
Yep.
And I got down to 157
Okay.
in 2020.
But you didn't have quite the leanness then.
Right. Yeah, this is definitely least I've ever been, 100%. So I feel confident about that. I feel good about that. But I definitely feel like you're right in that they were looking for size, because the two guys that won were definitely not as conditioned as me, but they were significantly bigger than me. I mean, they were huge.
Yeah. They were 40 pounds plus, maybe?
Yeah, the guy that won was 192 pounds.
Okay.
So, yeah, 40 pounds.
Yeah. And when they brought you guys out on stage to start the comparisons, you could kind of tell that they had those guys pegged from the get-go, because the way they were moving those guys around and kind of centering them in the lighting, or lack of, because it was a little bit of poor lighting. I would definitely agree with that. They were moving them around. They got kind of the majority of the attention.
They definitely did. They were looking for size for sure, which, again, I mean, like, it's a subjective sport. Sometimes they err on the side of size, sometimes conditioning, but this panel of judges seemed to prioritize the size, and they looked great. Like, they had great shape. I mean, like, that one guy's biceps were astronomical,
Yeah.
and that one guy's legs were insane. I mean, they definitely outsized me. Like, there's no doubt about that, but I can't control that, and I think I was definitely leaner than anybody else on stage.
Well, maybe that kind of goes with that type of territory as well, because the size of the class was 7 total competitors.
And I got 5th. We just started off the podcast. I got 5th out of 7 on this pro debut.
But they had a pretty wide variety of age, height, and weight.
They did.
So, you know, that's kind of the mishmash of competitors all against one another, versus having, you know, smaller classes or same size classes even of more comparable competitors against one another.
Yeah, I kind of like that it was a one and done, like, may the best man win kind of deal. But at the same time, you know, I'm always more competitive amongst a class of people that are similar weight than me, because then everybody's looking for conditioning because we're all the same weight, roughly. So, yeah, I mean, when you've got a lineup of 7 guys and there's no weight classes, like, it's all over the board.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was interesting. That was the first time doing that for me, which was, you know, got that experience now. So yeah, that was good. How did the variables that I had control over play out? Like, do you think there's anything I could have done better than what I did?
I don't think you left anything on the table.
Okay.
That was in your control. So as far as, like, your prep goes, your off-season gains go, your training, your cardio, you're dialing in your macros for peak week, refeed, doing the bricks the evening before and the morning of. How do you feel? I mean, because I don't think there's anything that you could have changed.
Yeah, like,
in your world.
I was talking to Chip when we were filming my little talking head clip before. It's like I get in my head, so there's, like, things that I think I could have done better that may have cost me. Like, I feel like I should have pumped up a little bit longer before stepping on stage, because I did continue to look better as we were on stage longer. But I don't think that would have really changed the placing at the end of the day. I think I could have probably changed my attitude overall. And Chip brought this to my attention. He's like, you went in as a killer, you know, cold, hard, steel-faced, and just ready to rock with a mission. And you didn't really let your personality come through as much. Like, you weren't really looking at the judges and smiling and just being more, you know, approachable, I guess, because I was so hyper-focused. And I think I was so hyper-focused because this was my first pro show, and I was competing against, you know, professional athletes, and I wanted to just zero in on my composure and conditioning, because I knew that I wasn't going to win on a size basis. And I could tell that they were getting winded because their conditioning wasn't as good. Like, they were starting to, you know, sweat profusely. They were starting to, you know, shake much more on stage with the poses. So I wanted to just be stone cold steel up there, and not deviate and just nail the poses. And I think I did that, but it cost me the personality component. So I think I probably could bring that to the table more.
True, to an extent, because I think part of your straight face demeanor being on stage and holding your poses also came across as being like you weren't there to screw around.
Yeah.
And your conditioning was on point, and you also had that sense of confidence regarding your conditioning.
Did I look confident up there?
You looked confident. I don't know if anybody would have perceived you as maybe having a little bit of, wouldn't say cockiness, but more confidence.
Yeah.
But I guess if you were to open up a little bit more, allow some facial expressions in, do that kind of thing, that may help. I suppose it depends on the judging panel.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
But on the flip side of that, the way that you were able to hold your cool and composure and hold your posing, flex everything solid, you had the endurance. You probably had more endurance than the other 6 guys combined. Yeah. Because like you just mentioned, and for anybody that didn't see it, Robert he was dialed in. They would call a pose. He would nail the pose, and he would stay 100% fully flexed for the duration of that pose, while all the other guys standing on left and right of Robert were shaking, quivering, sweating, to the point where after a couple rounds of symmetry posing, they were even having to wipe their face, wipe their tan off between their pecs.
Yeah.
They were dripping, literally dripping, and it was almost comical because you were like bone dry, like not a drip of running tan anywhere on you.
It's kind of funny, man, like a totally different panel of judges could have judged this totally differently.
And that's part of the sport.
Yeah, really. That is part of the sport. I mean, like if the panel of judges were like, look, we were going to make them work for it. We're going to keep them up there longer. We're going to see who's conditioned. We're going to see who's putting the work with the posing. I feel like I would have fared much better. And then you got a panel like today that's like, hey, we're going to prioritize the size. Mm-hmm. And I just don't, I don't have an extra 40 pounds on me. And I don't want to make excuses for myself. Like, what good does that do? Like, I feel good about the outcome. I'm totally at peace with it. But I'm just nitpicking myself. Okay, what can I control? What can I improve upon for next time? And I don't know, like I get in my head. That's what I do.
That's a good point, because like the way that you had the endurance and you were able to hold your poses even as the other guys were starting to waver. I've been to shows where the announcer will actually dial right in on that, and they'll say, you can see these guys are working hard for it, with a class this tight and all these guys looking so close together. We're going to make them work for it, and the one who comes out at the end and is still able to hit the poses, nail the poses, and has the accuracy of just having the endurance in being able to not waver and still flex, they're going to come out on top. They're going to get a little more bonus point. Yeah. And I don't think that played into your favor as much as it could have today.
And I think
it would have helped, definitely.
Yeah, and I think that's what I expected coming into it. So that's the mission that I went into it with, and the plan that I had in mind. But that's just, you're not on stage for that long a time anyway. So like you can't really totally change personality mid. I guess I kind of did with the pose down. But like that's just the mentality I had going into it. So that was interesting how that played out. So yeah, first pro debut experience, I'd say it's a learning experience for sure. I learned from it. The judging criteria or feedback rather afterwards was that they all said that I had the conditioning, the symmetry, proportions. I just didn't have the size. So after this last show in Worlds, I'm just gonna put on some more size. Mm-hmm. Name of the game. I could always use more of that.
Keto gains. Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
So now you've got Worlds in 2 weeks.
Worlds is in 2 weeks. So next week I will be depleting down further. I'll only have the one refeed meal, the ketogenic refeed pizza. My macros are going to be like 1,600 calories that week. And then the week of Worlds, I'm probably going to have the extra pound of lamb starting on Monday instead of on Tuesday. So I'll have an additional day of the extra lamb, and then kind of refeed into the entire week. Have the refeed pizza on Friday. And then depending on what time I step on stage on Sunday, I'll either have the extra brick on show day or the night before. I think My body did not respond poorly to having it the night before, that I could tell. What do you think?
Because you had a brick. It was probably what, like 7, 8 o'clock on Saturday night.
Last night?
Yeah.
Yeah, something. No,
Somewhere
it was
there?
probably like 9. Yeah, it was late.
It was later, and then you had another brick the following morning. Before
This
hitting the
morning.
stage, right?
Yeah, at about 9 o'clock.
Yeah, but you still looked super dialed in this morning prior to the brick.
Yeah.
So the second brick, helped fill you out, and
But I don't think, I think having the additional brick last night as opposed to this morning was probably a good call, because having 2 bricks today with stepping on stage that early probably wouldn't have been optimal.
that might have weighed a little heavy on you.
Yeah.
That would have been an extra 2,000 calories.
So Worlds just kind of depends on when I step on stage. I think it's going to be it's a Sunday show again, and then I'm in the very middle of the lineup, and I think it starts at 9. So it's going to be kind of right there on the border. Maybe I'll do a brick and a half.
Yeah, and we probably are going to expect to see larger classes to the point where they may even have to break them up into, will it go by weight classes?
If there is enough competitors, yeah, they'll be broken up. So yeah, I may do one before that, and then another one. Like if there's a battle for the overall of a class, then I'll probably do that, have another break after that.
Okay.
So a couple variables still in the works with Worlds, but I'm going to do a depletion week next week, which is the 1 refeed meal. That'll be a pretty significant drop in calories from this week once it all averages out. And then we'll go into Worlds guns blazing.
Awesome. I'm excited for that.
And you're going to that one, too.
I'm going to that one.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
What was it like for you just simply being at one of these shows with me?
It was awesome.
As opposed to, because you and I have worked together. You've been a client of mine for how long now?
Since, was it 2020?
2020.
I did my first prep with you was for shows in 21.
Your first ketogenic prep?
Yep.
Yeah. And
so
then
I think we officially met. Well, we started working together before we met in person. Then I met you in person in Omaha later on.
Yeah.
So I've been working with you since I think 2020. So we're going on 3-4 years.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Good to know you.
And 2 preps, 2 seasons.
Preps. You get your pro card.
Got a pro card.
Yeah. All with my ketogenic prep protocol.
Oh, yep.
So I don't think it's just me that it's working for.
It's working for a lot of people.
It's working for a lot of people.
And I've got people that I'm coaching that are doing the same protocol. You've got a lot of people that you're coaching doing the same protocol.
Many of us have coached people that have since become pros.
And you're using the protocol.
Yep.
So walk the walk and talk the talk.
Leanest man alive.
That's right.
Via the protocol.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what kind of conditioning comes up in Seattle.
Yeah, I am too. And I've got like a full-blown podcast I'm going to do on DEXA scan results, because I got one on Monday of this week. I'm going to get another one on the 30th of November, which will be after all the shows are over. And then I'm going to get them every 3 months after that for the reverse diet. So I'll kind of document the whole reverse diet process as well, which is one thing that people don't hear enough about, but it's incredibly important regardless of what diet you follow. Even if you're not competing, like reverse dieting is so important, and so many people don't give it the attention it deserves. So I'm excited to document my reverse diet out of this prep with the same level of detail that I've documented the prep itself.
Yeah, I think that could be an entire course or topic to incredible degree on its own, just because it does carry so much importance, and it's very, very overlooked by so many competitors, and it just leads to rebounds, weight gains, terrible relationships with food and dieting, and it could be just a terrible, it could wreak havoc on you.
Well, speaking of reverse diets, how many weeks or months post show are you now?
Oh gosh, let's see. Would have been, was it spring of 23? I did my last couple shows. Yeah, early 23. So I'm reverse dieting right now. We're in November, so I would say I am, what am I, 9-10 months out? I forget. I'd have to look at the spreadsheet.
It's a pretty long reverse diet.
Yeah.
Has it been pretty sustainable for you?
It's been pretty sustainable. I would say the two sticking points would be, one, me not being super patient.
Shed this sweater. Keep on talking.
Yeah. First one I would say is me not being a patient person when it comes to eating more. So the slower the reverse diet, the better. But that's not always what people want to do.
Definitely not.
You don't want to work through it slowly. You want to just eat all the food, go to all the parties, do the traveling, do all the fun stuff, eat whatever you want. But that's where the repercussions come in. And the second sticking point would be when you start to get a little bit fluffier, or you start to lose that definition, which is bound to happen no matter what. That's just the mental part of it.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, you got to just embrace that. You got to like accept the strength gains and the size gains and the muscle gains that come with that, and let that outweigh the psychological component of not being as lean. Has it been weird for you to be here with me and train with me and pose with me and see me as lean and dialed in as I am right now, knowing that you are not that lean, this being as far into the reverse diet as you are?
It's you have to kind of accept it mentally. Like, I would love to be as lean as you are, and maybe next time I do a prep, that'll be my goal, is to get close to as lean as you are. Never probably as lean as you are. But you have to just kind of accept the fact that you're in a different stage of the prep. I mean, off-season and reverse diet is, I guess, considered part of a prep, right?
Yeah.
If you ever have intentions of doing more shows, that's part of the prep for those future shows. So you're at the tail end of a prep to the point where you're lean as can be. I'm not. So I'm the chubby guy next to you.
Yeah, but so many people, they jump on Instagram and they see people that are dialed in, around competition season, and they're not at that point at that time, and they just like want to get back to that prematurely. So I think just recognizing that for what it is, being objective, not having this grass is green on the other side mentality is so important.
True. Yeah, because you're always comparing yourself to somebody else on social media. Maybe they're posting pictures or things that have been doctored. So that's another thing to consider. So I think maybe the majority of us are guilty of, man, that guy's lean, or man, that girl's lean. She really looks good. What is she doing that I'm not? How can I copy her? What's the magic go-to? And so in the off season or the reverse part of the process, just accepting that that's not a realistic thing to chase or follow or try to mimic. That's kind of just part of the mentality of being a competitor.
Yeah.
I mean, in between seasons.
Yeah, you want to get better in between shows. And if you don't have a legitimate reverse diet and building phase, you're not going to, because you'll actually start losing more muscle than you're gaining it, especially if you're natural. So like, if you don't give yourself that time, you're just simply not going to look better next time you step on stage.
Right. I don't understand how people can go from season to season to season to season of competitions without an actual reverse diet back up to at least maintenance level.
Yeah.
Or even a caloric surplus to some extent, and expect to see better or different results each season.
And when you peel the curtain back even further and look under the hood from a hormonal standpoint, like if you're not optimizing that post show, which takes quite a bit of time, you're wreaking havoc on your system on a much deeper level than what you're just seeing in the mirror reflected on the scale.
Right.
So yeah, it's important.
When you're judging a book by the cover, even the people that are dialed in, they're lean, they're just ready for hitting the stage, and they try to maintain that year round or years on end even. They might look good, act good, come across good on social media, but what's going on behind the scenes?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm a case in point right now. Like,
chronic dieting.
My hormonal levels are not optimal right now because I'm as lean as I am. I'm eating as little as I am. I don't want to sustain that any longer than necessary. I'm excited to put on a little bit of body fat because then my hormones are going to regulate better. And, like, you just got to embrace that other side of it. Like, it's not healthy to go to the one extreme or the other too frequently. I think there's a massive benefit psychologically from going to those extremes so you can see what your body's capable of, but you have to go into it knowing that you can't stay in it for long-term health.
Not to maintain health,
Yeah. So, 100%. But what's exciting for you, man? We've got some exciting things in the works that I don't know that I want to disclose too much on the podcast with, but you not only are my client and friend, you are a Deeper State Keto coach. So you coach under that umbrella, Deeper State Keto. We have recently brought you on to be the primary wholesale point of contact for all things Keto Brick. So you're reaching out to wholesale suppliers, getting the Keto Bricks in brick and mortar stores, mom and pop shops, all that good stuff. And we're going to start integrating you more on the social media front, and the influencer outreach program, affiliate network program, and some more things. I want to get you not back down. I want to get you down to Arkansas.
That's the work. That's the work in progress. Maybe we don't want to spill too many beans here on this episode of the podcast, but if we rewind 10 seconds to the Keto Brick wholesale side of things,
Yeah.
if anybody's listening and they might have a good idea for somewhere that they'd like to see the Keto Brick line of flavors on a store shelf, a gym shelf, a supplement shop, coffee shop, you name it, get in touch with me or Robert.
Get in touch with you.
That's our goal. That's the goal going forward here is we're going to try to get a little bit more retail activity going, wholesale activity going. We've got an awesome wholesale program as far as getting stuff out, and it's never cost a dime to ship it anywhere in the lower 48.
Yep.
And we can ship it worldwide. So we're trying to get some more overseas locations and international locations. So definitely, that is the growth plan for Keto Brick.
That was the whole point of this podcast, right? To have that shameless plug thrown in there.
I just took over right there.
No, I like it, man. No, I'm excited to have you as part of the team because you and I click so well, and we have from the very beginning. We have similar mentality. You're a hustler. You got great work ethic and a great attitude, and that's hard to find these days. So I appreciate it. I'm stoked to have you.
It's probably why
involved.
I was drawn into choosing you as a coach, is because that's what you emanate.
I try.
Radiate. It's just like you're just a solid guy. So.
Well, there's so much. There's with coaching, especially, man. There's so much of this scarcity mindset out there, where like, oh, I'm the best coach. If you don't use me, you're not doing it right. But like, I want to empower people to just simply get healthier, and whatever coach they resonate most with, work with them.
Yeah.
If they don't work out well, then find another coach.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many unhealthy people in America right now. So many unhealthy people in the world. It's like we shouldn't be fighting over who is the best coach. Like, let's just all be on the same team and get people healthier. And I've got a very specific protocol that definitely works for people. Not necessarily all people, but if it works for you, great. I'm happy to work with you. If it's not a good fit, then find someone that it is. But just simply get healthier at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. Like there's no reason to work with a coach that you don't necessarily, agree with or see eye to eye with. So find someone who matches your energy and your goals.
Let's talk about something exciting, man.
Okay.
Let's talk about celebratory meals post-competitions.
All right.
So I am 4 shows deep into a 5-show season. I've been dieting at this point now for 31 weeks straight. And I have not had a celebratory meal post-show yet because I've had future shows in the pipeline. So tonight, after this show, my first pro debut show, I went out and I bought y'all all dry-aged steaks. Y'all have had the steaks every night, except we did a burger night one night at the Airbnb here. But
Red meat every day?
Yeah, but this day, celebratory meal day, post-show, we got some dry-aged ribeyes, and then we did I cooked it up. I browned some butter, had brown butter, and then I had a ton of brown butter, and I deep-fried, I reverse-seared the ribeye steaks. And then you seared them in the brown butter on the skillet. How was that? Was it good?
Oh, man. I think mine was 22 ounces, give or take.
It was a big
I
steak.
threw mine on the scale. Chips was
Bigger.
Chips was a little thicker.
Yeah.
So he had a little bit more girth to his. But holy cow. I got to say, you are a connoisseur of the red meats in the kitchen. So the first night we had steaks, and you seared them then, right?
Yeah, that was a sear with butter. But it wasn't brown butter, and it wasn't the deep fried.
And then the second batch of New York strips that you made were made a little bit different way.
Those were reverse seared in stainless steel, but no butter.
Yep. And then just tonight was the dry aged, and they were cooked in the butter and duck fat.
And deep fried, yeah.
And deep fried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of the 3, which did you like the most?
Chip, I gotta ask Chip too.
Day 3.
Chip says day 3. I probably gotta have to agree with day 3.
All right.
So
this was
it's
the winner.
pretty incredible that you lived vicariously through us with this incredibly prepared, humongous ribeye, and you ate your meal prepped, measured, back row tracked to the
Salt
to a
weighed.
T, weighed the salt in a little dish on the scale to the gram. And just stay totally dialed in. Most competitors would go out, they'd, maybe, hopefully not binge, but maybe they would enjoy something that they normally wouldn't on their meal plan, and they wouldn't track it, they wouldn't weigh it, they would have no guilt. Some competitors would end up turning that into a tailspin, going backwards and just downward spiraling into, gaining 10 pounds and getting sick and doing all this bad stuff. So kudos to you for doing
Appreciate
that,
it.
because you, in my opinion, my viewpoint would be like, all right, I have 2 weeks for the next show. I could probably afford one little freebie meal tonight.
Yeah.
And I probably would have done that.
Yeah.
So you to stay so dialed in, and I've never seen anybody dial in to a T. You're even measuring the water.
I am measuring the water, yeah.
So if anybody's looking for a competitor to dial it in to the max, it's got to be you. Definitely.
Appreciate that. What's crazy, speaking of guilt, is I had my prepped meal, and then I had my, you were kind enough to crush some ice for me, because there's not any Sonics around here that have crushed ice. But one of my guilty pleasures is a cup of ice with a 0-calorie water enhancer, like the Stir brand clean water enhancer, squirted in there. My guilty pleasure tonight was I had a little bit extra of that Stir in there, and I legitimately feel guilty about it.
So you had twice as much as 0 calorie.
Yeah.
So it's still 0 calorie.
Yeah. So who knows? But the exciting part for me is after Worlds, so I got 2 weeks until Worlds as of today. I'm taking all y'all out to a Brazilian steakhouse, probably either Fogo de Chão or Texas Day Brazil, depending on locationally which one makes more sense. And I'm going to have one meal in the reverse. That'll be the start of my reverse, technically. That will be the one meal that is not weighed out, macro tracked to the T, ad libitum, eat until I'm full.
So it's going to be all vegetables.
Oh, yeah, all vegetables.
Vegan?
Yeah, vegan.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's definitely going to be all meat. I'll have my brick that day. I'll bring a brick. I'll have that at the restaurant first before I allow myself, like while they're getting the meat ready, I'm going to eat my brick. And then I'm going to go to town on whatever meat I want to. I don't even know if I want to have anything from the salad bar, like the cheeses or stuff. I might not. I'm not sure. I don't know if I want to have Crystal make a keto dessert. I may or may not. I'm not sure. But definitely going to eat a ton of meat that night. It's going to be good.
I'll join you. Chip will join us.
Y'all got to give me some competition.
I'm probably not going to track my food that day, Coach.
Yeah.
Just so you know. I might fast a bit in the morning that day. Have a little bit of something just to break the fast early afternoon.
Yeah.
And then we better bring bibs.
Better bring bibs.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like having a massive bolus of meat as opposed to a massive bolus of pizza or something like that.
Sugars,
candies, carbs. Like your body is going to respond so much better. Like when Crystal did her show and she did that, she didn't even feel bad the next day. She didn't even feel bad the night of that much. She had a keto dessert then too, but like had she done just meat, she probably wouldn't feel bad at all. So I don't know what I'm going to do with the dessert, but yeah, I'm going to go to town on that meat. It's going to be no questions asked. But then I'm right back to tracking because I want to document this reverse diet and be very strategic in that. So
I think that's key. So once you finish your competition and you do allow yourself that free meal or that, I guess, more lenient meal, I shouldn't say free meal, I feel that's the important part that a lot of people don't jump back on the next morning.
Yeah.
Is they just feel like, oh, well, I had a crazy meal last night. Maybe I can have a little crazy breakfast too.
Yeah.
They go to the hotel breakfast buffet, they load up on that kind of stuff.
It's a slippery slope, man. It's a slippery slope.
And then pretty soon later in the day, you're thinking, well, I don't know where I'm at. I don't know where I stand as far as my macros go today because I didn't track this morning. And then pretty soon you're having whatever you want for dinner. And then the next day, and it is a slippery slope. So
yeah.
I've done it. That's what I ended up having happen to me 10 years ago.
Yeah. And the next week after that show is Thanksgiving. But I'm tracking all my food at Thanksgiving. Like I'm going to have all my food there. It's going to be dialed in. I promised my crew I'd take them out to a Brazilian steakhouse when I get back. So at some point when I get back, I'm going to one more Brazilian steakhouse. I don't really know what I'm going to do with that one yet, but it'll be one meal that I may or may not track. I'm not sure, apart from the one after the show. But that's my only planned deviations at all.
And that's really not that big of a deviation because you're still going to be choosing the same type of foods that you would normally choose on track.
Yeah.
So you're just not necessarily tracking the quantities.
Yeah, it's all obviously going to be keto.
Right. So your carbs are still going to be incredibly low.
Yep.
It's all just going to be protein and fat.
Yep.
And you overeat protein, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
I mean, you overeat fat, you're going to have a little bit more energy. Maybe you just hit the gym with a little bit more intensity the next day.
You're good to
You're
go.
right back into it.
100%. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be good. I'm excited. I'm not going to be eating crushed ice that day. Not going to be eating crushed ice
Unless
that
it's in
day.
the form of keto ice cream or something.
Yeah. All right. So what else we got? Is there anything else brewing that we want to talk about? I'm pretty tired right now.
Yeah, it's been a long day for you, I'm sure. What time is it here? It is
8:30. Is it bad of us to go to bed at 8:30?
This is what time I usually go to bed.
Yeah.
Kind of wind down about 8:30, 9 o'clock.
I feel like I've been tired talking throughout this podcast. This is not the normal energy I bring. But I was super tired when we got back from the show.
Yeah.
And I had to make that newsletter and then film all that content. So I'm dragging right now.
Yeah, well, you've been hitting it all day, so.
Well, how about we call it end to the podcast? We pack up and we get some sleep. And then we hit the day strong tomorrow.
That's right. Yep.
Greg?
We're all flying home tomorrow.
We're all flying home tomorrow, man. Safe flight. Appreciate you being here, brother.
I appreciate the invite.
And I'm excited to see you in Seattle for Worlds, man.
2 weeks.
People can go where to find you?
Keto Greg 80 on Instagram.
Keto Greg 80 on Instagram.
Yep, 80.
80.
Yep, you got
I'll
it.
link out to that. Make it easy for people to find you. And definitely reach out with any wholesale inquiries or just to get in touch with Greg because he's an awesome guy.
You bet. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Greg. See you next time.